Hi everyone, my name is Jennifer Brown. I'm the director of BACA Wines, and I'm so excited to be back again with you guys for another BACA Wines happy hour. We have a really special happy hour for you here today. We're going to be drinking our Stargazing white wine, which is one of my new huge favorite hits, and we're going to be tasting it with a star to boot, Matt Bomer, and I'm so thrilled to be able to talk to him today. You know him from so many shows, from White Collar to movies like Magic Mike. He's in a huge show right now called The Sinner. We have so many things that we're going to be able to talk to him about today, and I can't wait. While we wait for him to come on, I want to tell you guys that we are doing really well in our Healdsburg tasting room in terms of following safety protocols. We are open for tastings, and you can make reservations on our website at bacawines.com. Be sure to check out our reservations because we get really booked up on weekends, Saturday in particular. Please come by. We've got a lot of really fun experiences for you. You can do a wine flight. You can do our brand new BACA sensory experience. And there's Matt. Hi, Matt.
Hey, how you doing?
Good. How are you doing today?
I'm doing very well. Very happy to be here with you and to thank you in person.
Oh,
I don't want to say for getting me through this past year because that sounds like I might have a problem, but I've certainly relied on your skills, and the Hall Cabernet in particular has been a
oh,
special treat for me over this time.
I'm so
So very
glad.
nice to see you.
Oh, you too. I'm really, really glad to hear that. That's the first wine our family made, and
Oh
we're
wow.
really proud of it. Much of it comes from the vineyards right around our family's home in Napa. So that means a lot.
Well, you
Thank
can
you.
taste it.
Good. Oh my goodness, you have so many fans that are signing on right now. For those of you guys tuning in, we're going to be drinking our Stargazing. It dawned on me right before this that I'm tasting this with a huge star, by the way.
Oh.
So I'm particularly excited about that. You guys can all be stargazing while we drink Stargazing.
Well, you're using that term very liberally, but my ego appreciates it. Thank
Well,
you.
that's not true. Cheers.
Cheers.
Oh my goodness. Mm. So you are such a huge,
Mm,
prolific actor. You've been in like so many projects
that's
for a
so
really
kind.
long time in a very short span. Actually, I mean, you've been a working actor for a very long time, but you're not very old. So I would just love to know about, what has been one of your favorite roles to boot? I mean, you've played so many. Neil on White Collar, Jamie now on The Sinner.
Yeah.
So many roles.
Oh
What's been one of your
gosh.
favorites?
I tend to be so obsessive about whatever I'm working on that becomes my favorite role at that
Mm,
time.
mm-hmm,
I think if I have to look back on one experience, it would probably be White Collar because it
mm-hmm.
as a the group dynamic was so great and everybody was so grateful to have the job and be there, and we were like family for 6 years, and I spent more time with that cast than I did with my own family at times. We were working,
I bet.
60, 70-hour weeks sometimes. So I would say that would have to be my number one. But I've been so fortunate. I have so many experiences and roles to be grateful for. And they've each offered different lessons and gifts and all those things. So.
I bet. Well, and I imagine you probably know better than anyone what it's like because you've been on lots of different shows, whether streaming or network. Is there a big difference between being on a streaming show versus a show that's aired on network, or is it exactly the same? It's just the platform you watch
Well,
it.
no, it is different because you don't have to write to please advertisers per se.
Oh, that's
You're
interesting.
so typically the act structure, which is the way an episode is broken down on network TV,
Hmm.
it goes out to commercial with some type of cliffhanger or something that will encourage you to tune back in
Oh,
after
of
commercials.
course.
So when you're on HBO or you're on Netflix, you don't have to worry about any of that. You can just write your story and trust that that's strong enough to keep people streaming.
Oh, that's so
But it's definitely a
interesting.
landscape that's really changing, though. I mean,
Yeah, well, I never thought about that because there's what, like three commercial breaks in a typical 22-minute show, something like that.
yes, yeah,
Um,
exactly, and an hour long, even more, I think.
oh, wow. So yeah, you do
Yeah.
have to write like 3 to 6 cliffhangers. I hadn't thought about that.
Yeah, or just it doesn't have to be someone hanging from a cliff, but it has to
Yeah,
be something that engages the audience that
right.
goes, oh, you're going to have to tune back in to see where this story goes from here.
Oh, that's really interesting. I hadn't thought about that. Whereas you have an uninterrupted amount of time with your audience on a streaming network. I imagine you probably prefer the latter,
I
doing the
do prefer the
uninterrupted.
latter.
Yeah.
I do prefer the latter. And as much as I understand the need for corporate sponsorships and engagement on a program, there were times when it felt like it interfered with the story a little bit, you know, as opposed to us just telling the story. And I understand the necessity for it and why it exists completely. But it is nice to be kind of unencumbered by that on a streaming service.
I bet. Well, that makes sense. So you have so many fans who are tuning in and saying, "Bring back white collar, bring back white collar."
I
And
wish I
then
had the power to do that.
I know. It was such a good show. One of my friends, who's a huge fan of yours, is also tuning in. His name is Carlos, and he just wrote, Jen was on a TV show once. And so, little known fact, I was a child actress, and I was on a show called Walker, Texas Ranger a long time ago. If you ever saw that.
Yes, of course. I grew up in
Yeah.
Texas, or half in Texas,
Yes,
so
I
that
saw
was
that.
huge.
Yeah. I grew
Wow.
up in Dallas also. I was only in one episode, but it was the season finale, and so I get residual checks, you know, like every
Oh,
year,
the
for whatever,
best.
$2.
Well, that's the best part about doing a network show, or those residual checks. It just keeps coming back to help you out when you need
Yeah.
it. But I believe it. I mean, you're. I mean, I don't mean to objectify, but you're beautiful. I can completely see
Oh,
you on screen.
well, that's really nice. Speaking from one of the most handsome men in the world, so I appreciate that. Thank you.
Smoke and
Um,
mirrors, but appreciated.
well, I know that you were saying earlier that our wine, I'm so grateful, has helped get you through um, uh, what do you call it, COVID. What's
Yeah.
it like? I know you talked about this a lot, but I'm sure a lot of your fans would love to know what it's like growing up. I mean, living at home with three kids, two teenagers who are, you know, going to homeschool right now.
Yeah. I mean, selfishly, if there's a silver lining in all of this for me,
Mhm.
it's that I have been able to have this pure, unadulterated time with my family. Where, you know, if you're fortunate enough to be working as an actor, there are times when you're going set to set to set to job to press conference,
Mhm.
and you really, even when you're present with your family, there are three or four things in the back of your mind. And so to have that real, pure, present time with them is something that's been really invaluable. And they've been
Wonderful.
so great. They're so resilient and really, I mean, I'm knocking on wood right now, but they really haven't complained a lot. And we've tried to keep them engaged, and they've found ways,
Hmm.
kind of through what we're doing now, to stay
Hmm.
engaged with friends and have conversations. And you know, I think we're already, you know, and excited for this next chapter when they get to go back to their normal lives and, you know, do everything a teenager should do, which is go hang out with your friends outside the house and
Oh,
all
I
the things I
bet.
know in their heart they want to do. So,
I'm sure a lot of people who follow you also would love to know what you do for fun. Do you guys, I think I've seen pictures of you guys going hiking on weekends.
yes,
What do you guys
yeah.
like to do?
We love to hike. We try to get outside. I mean, I think that's a big part of it is
Hmm.
finding safe ways to get them outside in fresh air,
Hmm.
get some of that energy out. And we, you know, we're fortunate enough that we have a yard, so we'll throw the baseball, we'll throw the football, we'll
Oh, that's
play
fun.
games. Thankfully, our twins still like to play hide and go seek, so we'll do that sometimes. And then we have lately we've been doing board games for a while, but now I just bought for the twins' birthday. I got them this poker set, and we all learned how to
Oh,
play
fun.
Texas Hold'em.
Oh,
So
fun.
that's become the new family game.
Oh, I like
And
it. A little competitive streak in your family.
yeah, it's fun, and they like learning about it, and it keeps them engaged, and it keeps
Hmm.
us, you know, together in an environment that's conducive to them opening up and talking to us and all those things. And but we have movie nights too, and we have nights where we say, you want to go FaceTime with your friends, go for it. You want to go play a game with your friends, go for it. We try to mix it
Nice.
up.
Well, I'm sure people always love to know what people in Hollywood watch. What are you watching right now? Is there anything you're binge watching at home?
Well, I was doing a lot of screeners because of the SAG Awards
Mm, of
and
course, that makes
and
sense.
the Oscars coming up. So I was trying to familiarize myself with
Hmm.
all the movies in contention. I think there were some beautiful and amazing movies this year. Um, I loved Nomadland. I loved
Oh, that
Minari.
looked wonderful. I haven't seen it yet, but looks amazing.
There's a movie you should watch. It's incredible. It's called Another Round. It's
Okay.
nominated for Best Foreign Film, but it's
Oh.
about there was this European philosopher who believed that our blood alcohol level was naturally just a little bit too low.
Oh,
So if you
interesting.
just like kind of parsed out a little bit of alcohol over the course of your day, it could have these dramatic effects in your life because you're so much more relaxed. And
Interesting.
so this group of guy friends decides to put that, they're all on the faculty at the school.
Uh-huh.
And they decide to put that theory to test in their lives. And, you know, the results are mixed. But it's very funny, and it's really heartbreaking and lovely. It was one of my favorite films of the year.
Was it a documentary or was it fiction?
No, it's a foreign film from, oh gosh, I'm going to say this wrong. I think it's a Danish foreign film.
Oh, wow.
Mads Mikkelsen is the star.
Oh, I'd love
And
to watch that.
yeah, and Thomas Vintner is the director, who is one of the guys who kind of came up with the whole Dogma cinema, along with Lars von Trier. He sort of created the Dogma rules. But his camera work, he's nominated for Best Director as well, and his camera work in this and his direction is just phenomenal.
Oh, I will definitely check that out. That sounds
Yeah.
wonderful. And I love watching foreign films too. So
Yeah.
much.
You know, you got to be in the mood sometimes. If you're like, am I going to read
To read
subtitles for 2
subtitles,
hours? Yeah, I'm
right.
going to go for this. But we've certainly had time to do it. I just want to say, by the way, this is
Oh,
phenomenal.
thank you so much.
I'm such a newbie, like not a newbie because I've
Sure.
been drinking wine for a while
A little
now.
more.
But can I ask you questions for all the
Please.
novice wine drinkers out there?
Yeah, absolutely. I'd love to hear them.
So you're at a restaurant
Hmm.
and maybe you order a white. Let's say you order a white like this. You
Okay.
know, you love stargazing. You're a
Yeah.
fan of it. It comes to the table.
Hmm.
How do you become the guy who actually knows what he's doing, but isn't the obnoxious guy who interrupts the
Hmm.
dinner for 5 minutes and sends the bottle back? Like, what are you really looking for? Are you looking for the
Oh,
legs? Are you looking for
when
the
they bring it to
bouquet?
you?
Yeah.
Yeah, totally. Okay, so the biggest thing that you're looking for is whether the wine is corked. When you order a bottle of wine, they'll bring the bottle to you. And then usually
Yes.
what they'll do is let's see if I can find the cork. They'll take the cork and they'll show it to you. And the cork can be a sign of whether or not the wine was damaged. So if you
Ah,
see a lot of wine, this one you can tell is clean, but if you see, especially if it's a red wine, if you see the wine kind of goes up the
yes.
cork, that can be a sign that the bottle got hot and maybe leaked a little bit or got old. And so that doesn't necessarily tell you that it's corked, but it's a good sign. And then when you taste the wine, when you smell it, there's a couple different things you're smelling for. One is like a vinegary smell.
Hmm.
So things that are like basically off-putting,
Yeah.
like vinegary, or another one can be like I want to say like a wet cardboard kind of smell. That can also be a sign of being corked. But the hardest part, and especially being in the wine business, and we make, in my opinion, really great wine, the hardest part is sometimes a wine can be corked, but it's really subtle. So like the really bad cases, you would know to send it back. But if it's somewhere in the middle and if it just tastes okay, a lot of people might think, oh, this wine isn't very good. But it actually might be that it got corked, but it's just subtle. It's not like terrible. It just makes it taste off. And so the only real way to know that is if you had two bottles side by side and you could taste them
Oh,
comparatively. But in the real world, most people don't send a wine back unless it's those really obvious bad
yeah.
corked
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
flavors. Or if you know a wine really well, like I know this wine well enough where if it tasted off for some reason, I could send it back, but it might be
Yeah.
hard. Well, hopefully
Yeah.
you'll know it really well too, and you would know.
I've never sent one back. First of all, I guess I've been fortunate. I've never gotten a bad one that smelled like vinegar. But I'm also the kind of person who would just hide the pain and
I
just
know, because it
power
feels
through.
awkward. I don't like sending food back either, because you feel bad about it.
Yeah,
No,
yeah.
no.
So this smells amazing
Oh, thank
and
you.
it looks amazing. I see you moving it around in your glass.
Yeah.
Do you need to let white breathe in the same way you need to let red breathe?
You do. I mean, the main reason for moving it around is just to release the aromas. Because if you didn't release the aromas, let's say it was like in like an enclosed container, you wouldn't be able to actually smell anything. And
Yeah.
so when you integrate it with oxygen, then and that's one of the reasons why white wine glasses are usually a little more tapered, so it's closer to your nose. And so
Yeah.
then the aromas then come up and you can smell them more easily. And so
Ah,
red wine is usually denser, so you need to aerate that more. But white wine like this is still an aromatic wine, so you still want to be able to smell the flavors.
yeah.
Yeah.
See,
Thank you.
learned a few new things today.
Oh,
Thank you for that.
thank you for those questions. Yeah, this is an unusual white wine. You'd be hard pressed to find this kind of wine in a lot of stores. It's mostly made in France, but we make this. We call it white wine on the label. This is what it says on the label, but what it actually is, it's two different Rhone varietals called Roussanne Marsanne, and they're very unusual, but we really love them because we like making a little bit unusual wines. But what I like to say about it is it has the creaminess and the body of a Chardonnay, but it has the fruitiness and sort of the freshness of a Sauvignon Blanc. So it's kind of like a
Yeah.
nice combination of that. Because usually Chardonnays are like super oaky and you don't get any
Yes.
fruit flavors. This still has that nice weight, but then it also has the fruit flavor. So I like the combination.
I can taste that. I guess I
Oh,
have enough of a palate left to be able to taste that. I mean, I'm a fan. I may be a
oh, thank you.
convert after today, I have to say.
Oh, thank you very much. That's really sweet of you. I
Yeah.
appreciate it. Well, I know you're a really good sport and you've offered to play a little game called Sip or Spill.
Let's do
So,
it.
okay, so to those of you who are huge Matt fans, which I think is most of you guys here, Matt's agreed to play a game called Sip or Spill. And if you have any questions you want to throw out in the text chain while we're doing this, you're welcome. I'll choose whether or not to use them. But the idea is I'll ask a question and then Matt can choose whether to spill the beans or take a sip. So it's up to you. If it's too personal of a question, you just take a sip and that'll be just great too.
Okay.
Okay, so first question, who is someone that you've met that left you starstruck?
Oh, wow. You know, well, I'll tell you something that's interesting is that the people, I've been so fortunate that I've gotten to work with some of my idols from childhood, from being a teenager, from going to acting school, all these things. And the the ones I've been most starstruck around are oftentimes the ones who are the best at disarming you and
Mm-hmm.
making you feel at ease. Like Julia Roberts is someone who is an icon to me. And I was so nervous to meet her, and she's so funny and disarming that I was actually able to be more myself with her than most people I've worked with.
Oh, that's so interesting.
So a lot of and the first actor I worked with on a film was Jodie Foster, who
Hmm.
was so great at just, she came to set, she knew the entire crew's name. She knew every actor in the movie's name, no matter how big your part was. She was a complete professional, and she made you feel
Hmm.
respected for being there. So I feel like I was lucky early on. I love actors. That's why one of my favorite things about directing is that I love every actor. I like complicated actors. I like
Hmm.
easy actors. I like them
Hmm.
all. I actually can sometimes get more starstruck around big directors or
Oh, that makes
writers,
sense. Hmm.
storytellers, sometimes because they've created these stories that I've fallen in love with, and I can just be gobsmacked when I meet them. I'll tell you
Hmm.
one, and I hope this isn't going on way too long. I would take it
No,
before anyone
are you
answer.
kidding? I've got all day. I'm
I
loving
did
this.
have I did have one moment that I still regret to this day, and I hope I'm able to amend it. Obviously, Meryl Streep is one of the greats that everybody
Oh,
wants to work with.
right.
And there was this moment when we were at a party, and it was one of those great parties where, people don't have up their normal defenses. Um, so that you can engage a little bit more with, maybe
Hmm.
people who you couldn't normally. And it was one of those moments where the party cleared, and it was just Meryl and I walking towards each other. And I wanted so badly to say everything I've wanted to say since I was a child, and I just veered left and
Oh
got
my
out of
gosh.
there. Because what do
Yeah.
you say to Meryl Streep that hasn't been said a million times? And I didn't
No.
want it to be that party for her. I wanted her to feel safe and engaged. And so
Well, that's so
another
big of
time.
you. Yeah. She probably felt it in your eyes that you communicated and connected with her.
Or she was like, why did that guy just walk away?
She probably went to that party to talk to you, and she was so bummed
No,
that you walked
yeah,
away.
right. I wish. Oh my
Okay,
gosh.
so a lot of people are asking questions about white collar. So I do have a sip or spill
Yes.
question for you on that. Would you rather film another season of White Collar or do a Magic Mike 3? Which would be your preference if you had to choose?
Ooh. Um, Well, I feel like if they do a Magic Mike 3, they're gonna have to like start leaning into Magic Mike double ARP. So
Well, that's not true, but I hear
this,
you.
this is a delicate question because of all the creatives involved. I loved everybody on both those projects. I will say, just because we had 6 years together, and
Mhm.
I love that chemistry, and there are so many more avenues to go down.
Mhm.
I think it would be fun to do a season of White Collar in Paris
Oh, that
with
would
the
be really
gang.
cool.
Yeah, that would be
Oh my
really fun.
gosh. And maybe
Yeah.
you could live in Paris for the season while you're filming it,
You
if you
know,
had to.
I would not be mad at that. And honestly, let's face it, any city you're cheating to be Paris has still got to be a pretty great city. Like
That's true.
Montreal, bring it on. Whatever it is, I would
Totally.
be there.
Totally. Oh, okay. All right. On the flip side of the previous question, who is the biggest diva that you've ever worked with? Okay, fair. I thought you might say,
Ah,
but I
it's
bet
too
there is a good
easy.
story. I'll just imagine it.
Yeah. I've been
Okay.
I have to say though, I've been very fortunate. I have not, because I've heard stories from other actors where I'm like, whoa,
Yeah.
that can
Yeah.
happen?
Yeah.
And I've
Oh,
never
that's
had
good.
those. Yeah.
Oh, that's good. Okay, so what is the most embarrassing thing that's ever happened to you on set?
Uh, well, embarrassing is a relative term after you do two movies about strippers, because you've kind of like bared it all for
Yeah,
everybody,
you bared your soul to everyone. Yeah.
including your soul and a lot more than that,
And a lot more than that. Yeah.
including takes where, things went wrong, so they didn't make it in the movie.
Yeah.
So, outside of that, when I was doing uh, Doom Patrol, the first season, I my double in the project was this great actor who was like a 24-year-old vegan, like raw
Hmm.
vegan. So he was
Uh-huh.
like that skinny.
Uh-huh.
So at the time they hadn't finished my suit, and so I had to try to wear his suit.
Oh, how funny.
And it was my first time doing like an action scene in front of the crew. And there was this energy spirit that was like jumping around me, and it was all green screen, so I was kind of having to dodge all on my own, and it was tight. And first take, I'm like, I want to make a great impression in front of the crew.
Yeah.
And I dodge down to duck this thing, and it rips from my ankle to my butt
Oh no,
in
that's
front of the
so
whole
embarrassing.
crew.
Oh
And
my
we
gosh.
had to, shut down for like 15 minutes while they stitched up this hole that I had created because I was not a 24-year-old raw vegan.
Oh my God.
Um,
Yeah.
but we laugh about it now, but at the time I was like, oh wow, this is really dispiriting. I'm gonna have to just pick my ego up off the floor, rock it a little
Totally.
bit, and go at it again.
Oh, that's so funny. Yeah, and then I realize it's much better than being on television or any or something like that, but it's still in front of a lot of people on set.
It
So,
is.
yeah.
Yeah. I guess live TV could go really wrong.
That would have been worse maybe.
Thank God, I'm knocking on wood, we haven't gone there yet. But yeah, you do have. But when you're doing a film or a episodic, your crew is really your audience,
Mm-hmm.
and they're the ones. Sometimes you can kind of gauge off them how the story is going.
That makes sense, right? You test it out
So
on them.
yeah, and
Mhm.
one of the hardest things about COVID is that everybody's, when we're coming back to work, everybody's going to
Right.
be cordoned off, and I rely so much on my relationships with the crew.
Hmm.
Um, it's just part of the whole experience for me. So hopefully we can maintain all that while we go back to work,
Oh, that
even
makes a lot.
safely
Yeah.
distanced.
I hope so too. No, I mean that's been the hardest of all, right? Of COVID is just not having those connections with people.
Yeah.
At least we can do it virtually, but still. Okay, a couple more questions for you. One is, what other actor do you get mistaken for?
Oh, without question, Henry Cavill.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah. I mean,
yeah.
it's a real thing. I mean, I think I wish that were the case. I think Henry is, I love him as Superman.
Yeah, very
I'm
handsome
a
man.
fan
Yeah.
of his work, and I wish that were the case. I don't understand it, other than the fact that we both have darker, wavier hair and blue eyes. I don't know. But I'll take it. I will
Yeah.
dine out on that.
Yeah,
Why
yeah. No,
not?
that's not a bad thing for sure. And then last, a personal question. Is there a project that you've been a part of that you'd rather people not see?
Oh my gosh. I'm so tempted to drink, but I think people probably want to hear stories. So I will just say, when you're an actor just starting out, there are jobs you have to take to
I'm
get your
sure.
equity card or get your SAG card. They're not, your dream job as an artiste. But I would say, thank God it was before social media, because some of the stage performances I did to get my actor's equity card and get myself some insurance were they were
Oh,
bad.
really?
Yeah. Um,
You're
just a
not going to
few,
write home about those.
not going to write home about those. You're learning, and I won't identify anything, because to those people, it
Of
was their
course.
creative baby. But to me, it was like, oh wow, is this? Oh no, I hope this is not videoed.
Actually,
Yeah,
that is the beauty of doing a live production, right? Is that it's not going to be captured forever.
it is. I mean,
Yeah,
nowadays that now that folks have cameras on their phones, I mean, a lot
true.
of Broadway and off Broadway projects. This would have been off Broadway, but
Really far away. Yeah.
yeah, people can, they can pick up their phone and video if they want.
Yeah. Well, I'm sure it was less to do with you in terms of what you acted, but more just the general show. So,
Yeah, I mean, I always say there's nothing better than doing a great play. Nothing, because it's live, it's interactive. You're telling that story with the audience there every night, and there's nothing worse than doing a bad play,
oh, I bet
because you know it, and you're
you can
on
feel the
stage.
energy, I'm
You can
sure.
feel it. The audience is like,
Right.
and you're still there doing it.
Well, that's funny that you say that because it must be really hard then, conversely, when you're doing films, that you don't really have that audience to know whether or not people are enjoying it. Or at least for you, it's the crew in the moment. You can tell if
Yeah,
people are
it
enjoying it.
is, but the whole movie can change in editing.
Oh, right, of
And
course.
I've had things that I thought were brilliant, and then when you see it when it's cut together, you're like, oh, they cut out that whole speech. And then there are things that
Oh,
I'm like, oh my gosh, please God, don't ever let anyone see this. And then it's edited together and it all works.
oh, that's so
So there's
interesting.
this whole magical
Right.
extra act that happens once you wrap.
That makes a lot of sense because you have the sound, you have all the other special effects and the
Yeah.
editing. Oh, that's
And
really
the
interesting.
director's really shaping, or creator is really shaping the story they want.
Great.
Yeah.
Oh, well, thank you so much, Matt. This has been so fun to talk to you and get a glimpse into your life. I know so many people have loved you for a long time from all your projects, and most
Oh,
recently, The Sinner that just dropped in January. And I know
yes.
that Doom Patrol is coming out again. Do you have anything that you want to say in terms of last words to your fans that are watching?
I just want to thank everybody for tuning into this and supporting me. And I've had such a great time connecting with fans in a way that I don't always get to over the
Mm.
course of this past year. So that's been a highlight for me. And I love you all. And I hope I get to meet you someday soon. When the world goes back to normal, I have to come up to the vineyard and say
Please.
hi.
We would absolutely love to host you literally anytime. Just email me and we will host you. I mean, that goes to anyone watching. You guys should come visit us. But it'd be very special to see you, Matt, in person.
Yeah.
So thank you to you and Simon and your family for
Oh,
being, virtually a part of this. So
thank
cheers to
you.
you.
It's a pleasure.
Okay, you
All the
too.
best. Bye
You
bye.
too. Well, that was so wonderful. For those of you guys that are had fun today, be sure to follow us here at BACA Wines. We had a wonderful happy hour with Matt. He is just such a class act and a fantastic actor. We do happy hours every week here at BACA Wines with other fabulous guests. So please be sure to tune in for our future ones. And until next time.